Thank you, Cathaoirleach and Minister. Um, as I suggested, the Social Welfare Bill, when we came here first in 2011 and the Finance Bill for 2012, we're in a much different situation. It was about cutbacks and reductions, and whilst there were positives at that time too as well in relation to the tourism sector, the options and the potential to invest were much more limited than they are now. So it's great to be in a position that we can start giving back and making changes to give back and give money back into people's pockets. And as I said yesterday, the Social Welfare Bill as well, it's not by accident. This has happened. It's happened because of the decisions of government, of the Minister, of the Cabinet, of the Taoiseach, and the sacrifices of the Irish people themselves. And I think it's important that that be said, because these things don't happen by accident. There has been a clear plan, a clear strategy to turn this country around, and we've seen that. This bill provides us and contains significant measures which will improve the financial position of workers, pensioners and families across the country. Several sections of the bill will ensure that every worker in the country will see increases in their take-home pay and pensions from January. Section 2 of the bill gives effect to the budget announcements concerning the universal social charge, and the bill will again reduce the USC, a continuation of the work started last year. It will exempt those on annual incomes of €13,000 or less. It will reduce from 1.5% to 1% the USC incurred between up to €12,012, reduce from 3.5 to 3 those between 12,000 and 18,868, and again from those between 18,669 to 70,000 will be charged at a rate of 5.5%, down from 7%. And this is certainly very welcome news. The USC is very much a despised tax. It was introduced in emergency times, and whilst the emergency is not over, certainly we're coming out of that emergency. Things are improving, and Irish workers and pensioners have clearly illustrated to us as backbenchers their desire to see change on that, and I know that we've brought that view to you, Minister, and thankfully you have been able to act, and we're in a position to be able to act now. So this is the positive change that people will see in their pay packets and pensions after January. Obviously, with an election approaching, it's important that opposition parties' taxation plans should be scrutinised, because these plans and policies which Fianna Fáil and Sinn Féin and others would pursue if elected have to be disclosed. And Fine Gael's measures to cut the USC rates and increase the thresholds for USC and inheritance tax are in stark contrast to opposition plans. Sinn Féin want a 58% top tax rate, an increase in employers' PRSI, which makes job creation more difficult, and an increase in inheritance tax. And with Sinn Féin, there will be no USC cut for anybody earning more than €19,500. Fianna Fáil's budget plans show they are against the government's tax cuts and would prefer a top tax rate of 52%. Fianna Fáil obviously who introduced the USC in budget 2011, hitting anyone who earned over €4,000, and their proposed changes to USC bands would not benefit anybody earning over €21,000. So I think those policies are clearly evident. Section 3 of the Finance Bill is very progressive. During the difficult economic times, many business owners worked without taking a wage for themselves. This was to help ensure the survival of the business, but it was exceptionally tough on the owners of SMEs, and we must remember that SMEs are responsible for 2/3 of all jobs that have been created since 2012. The tax system has not treated PAYE workers and the self-employed equally, and this disparity is unfair. Fine Gael and Labour are taking steps to equalise the tax system. The €550 earned income tax credit will benefit self-employed persons such as local business owners and farmers, and it's an important step and a first step to ensure that there is equalisation for these people, and this is a commitment by Fine Gael, if returned to government, that this will be continued to full equalisation. And I think, particularly the treatment of the self-employed and the benefits they get in terms of social welfare and disability and that, I think that needs to be looked at as well. And I know the Minister Burton has taken steps in that line in relation to stamp pay and all that, and I think that's welcome, and it certainly I think should be rolled out. Another measure in the bill which is very welcome and will help local businesses and stimulate job retention and creation is Section 33. This section reduces the capital gains tax rate from 33% to 20%, up to a value of €1 million, where a business owner sells the business on. This measure is a very practical one. Will incentivise the retention of a business as an ongoing concern. Section 28 is extending until December 2018 the 3-year corporation tax rate for start-up companies, which was due to expire in December of this year. This measure exempts start-up companies from corporation tax for the first 3 years of trading, and the early years in businesses are often the most challenging. And this measure will continue to provide support to the very important start-up companies and boost their chances of success. Obviously, the financial turbulence of the last number of years meant difficult choices had to be made, which included revenue-raising measures. And one of these was the raising of the threshold for transfers such as inheritance of a home. The impact of this was mitigated by falling house prices. However, house prices have risen. It was never the intention of the government that an ordinary home being passed to a son or daughter be subject to a higher rate. Therefore, Section 64, the decision to increase the threshold from 225,000 to 280,000 is very welcome. And it is a measure which will benefit numerous families across my own constituency and indeed the country. Another area that's been brought to my attention, and it's probably something that only affects a small number of people, is regarding Section 77 to 80 of the Disabled Drivers Fuel Grant. And I received communication from individuals regarding this and the impact that it had. For example, in relation to one individual who is a volunteer of the Galway Visually Impaired Activity Club, and who brings around people who are visually impaired. And the van is registered in the name of the chairperson who is visually impaired. Up to now was taxed as a commercial van with an annual cost of €333 for road tax. Recently, he was told that it was it could no longer tax the van as commercial, and as you do not have a business, because it's more of a charity. And the lady in the tax office did her best to see if there was any way around this, but basically their bill now has gone up to €1,080. Now, the response from Revenue was that the relevant legislation governing this scheme is contained in Section 92 of the Finance Act 1992 as amended, and Statutory Instrument number 353 of the 1994 Disabled Drivers and Disabled Passengers Regulations of 1994, and a fundamental requirement that the organisation must qualify. A qualifying organisation means a philanthropic organisation which is not funded primarily by the state and which is chiefly engaged in a voluntary capacity, which this is. The legislation does not provide tax relief on vehicles used to transport persons with any other disability other than what is laid down specifically in Regulation number 3, and this is in general disability for individuals without the use of hands, arms, legs or dwarfism. It doesn't include visually impaired, and I think it's something that could be looked at, Minister, and certainly would help that group in Galway in reducing their road tax, because it is a section that this group, this club in Galway, are involved in specific activities and bringing people around, and I think it would be of great benefit to those to reduce that if possible. Overall, Minister, the news is more positive in relation to this finance bill and indeed in relation to the capital plan that Minister Howlin published, or his side of the capital expenditure side of the budget statement. And we've seen a situation where the choices have been made to invest in our public services as well, to start the recruitment of teachers. Again, there was some last year and in addition this year as well, and that's all very welcome. And the challenges and demographic pressures are evident. They're evident also within our health services, and the challenges that are there in the future are huge. The choices we've made is to give something back to the hard-pressed taxpayer and pensioner as well as starting to improve services. And I think that as I said, this is not by accident. It is because of the decisions made and the sacrifices of the people, and I certainly welcome and I hope that you're around, Minister, for future finance bills to ensure the progression of these measures, to ensure the continuity of the economic recovery that we have seen over the last number of years. And I certainly would like to welcome the specific measures which improved the situation for people in this bill, and also finally in relation to the commercial road tax, which is and I'd like to thank you specifically for that, because it was something that's been highlighted for a number of years by people who have been under pressure, who have seen companies been registered in the north, that the state was probably losing taxes anyway, but was driving business and driving jobs outside this country. So I'll certainly welcome the measure that you took place, very proactive, very pro-business measure in relation to commercial tax changes. So,
Thank you, Deputy.